Hello, Adam Lord here at the end of the first day of Nicola Bulley's inquest at County Hall in Preston. Now obviously the mother of two's disappearance back in January garnered unprecedented media, public and social media of course scrutiny. So there are plenty of eyes on the city of Preston today as on the first of 2 days of this hearing. This hearing obviously is designed more than anything hopefully to give her family and her loved ones some closure and some answers. With so many other interested parties involved as well, but mainly the focus is on them and getting what they want out of these 2 days. It's an inquest like no other really, certainly not that we've covered in this part of the world, where it began with a stern warning from Lancashire senior coroner James Adderley about the social media speculation and all the sort of focus that has been on the case. He warned anyone that would. There were certain members of the public permitted access to this. And he warned any members of the public who wanted to interrupt proceedings that they would potentially be in contempt of court. Now, beyond that as well, there are even police patrolling the streets of Preston around County Hall today, and we've seen people try and come in to view proceedings today, quite innocently, to be quickly told that there is no access unless you have booked your place in advance and been vetted. As a reminder, this morning we heard from Dr. Alison Armour, the pathologist involved in the case, who revealed that Nicola's official cause of death was drowning. She insisted on multiple occasions when pressed by Dr. Adelaide that there was no third-party involvement in this as far as her evidence was concerned, and Nicola had no alcohol in her system at all at the time of going into the water, but that when she went into the water she was alive. We also heard from PC Matthew Thackeray, Professor Michael Tipton and Dr. Patrick Morgan, who all principally discussed the impact of cold water shock on the body. Now, back in January on the River Wyre, up in Lancashire obviously, the water was estimated to be about 3.6 degrees at the time, which would feel more like freezing, and the body could quickly go into shock and seize up. Now, but the deepest part of the River Wyre, estimated around 4.6 metres. Now, Nicola was about 154 centimetres tall, according to what we were told in court today. The experts are saying that Nicola could have been unconscious for as little as 48 seconds, maybe even less. And in a matter of seconds, she could have gulped, she could have breathed in enough water to sadly, very sadly, begin the drowning process, as described by Alison Armour earlier in proceedings. Now, this afternoon, we've heard from 9 members of the public who were in the area at the time, some who knew Nikki, some who didn't but saw her, and described, as we've pieced together sort of the events on the morning of January the 27th. Of the 9 members of the public involved, we heard things such as the fact that she was arranging play dates for her children on the Saturday. It was a Friday when she went missing. And on Saturday evening, she was even planning to go out for drinks with fellow mums from school. She was clearly making plans about what was going to happen at the weekend. Now, 2 members of the public, nurse Helen O'Neill and Veronica Klassen, a secretary at the local tennis club, both described her hearing a scream in the area surrounding the riverbank. They were in different parts, but overheard this noise. Now, Helen O'Neill said that noises like that weren't unusual, but that usually she attributed it to children around the area, and that hearing that scream sort of around beyond 9:30 in the morning was unusual, but the nature of the scream was such, and this is something that Veronica Klassen backed up, the nature of the scream was such that they thought it was potentially kids joking around. It sounded like a surprise scream. So it could be Helen O'Neill depicted an image where in her head she saw 2 teenagers potentially messing around on the riverbank and one jumping out on another. So they didn't think anything of the scream, and Helen O'Neill detailed pretty extensively that it was only later that evening that she maybe thought more of the scream that she heard. We also heard today from caravan park owner Penny Fletcher, again in the vicinity of the area. Now, Penny Fletcher is the one who, she described the moment how she found Nicola's dog Willow running free and the phone, Nicola's phone on the bench, which obviously became the centre of the investigation and kind of a symbol of this case, the bench on the River Wyre where it became the scene of the case. The phone was obviously still logged on to a work call. We got some pretty detailed analysis about when that phone was working, when it was logged on, when it was logged off. The same with Nicola's Fitbit, which was recovered when they sadly found her body in the River Wyre 23 days after she went missing. Penny Fletcher described in detail how she tied Willow to a bench not knowing knowing exactly what to do. And then she essentially called for help and got friends in the area to come down and support her. And eventually there was a chain of events whereby Penny Fletcher's daughter-in-law, when seeing the phone, recognised the family on the phone. Obviously, Nicola, her children, Paul Ansell, her partner, who was in court today, and contacted the children's school. And eventually they got in touch with Paul. Now, in the interim, Paul had rung his partner 6 times in 7 minutes. So worried was he about her whereabouts. He's also sending a WhatsApp message asking if he was lost. That was between 10:40 a.m. and 10:47 a.m. By 11 a.m. he was ringing 999, sparking what became sort of this unprecedented search for missing Nicola. Now, we've heard from 16 witnesses today, some with lengthier and more detailed descriptions than others. Tomorrow's plans are for far fewer witnesses, but one of those is Paul Ansell. He's the last witness listed, and Louise Cunningham, who is Nicola Bulley's sister, who will also hear, who have both been in court. Obviously, very difficult 2 days for them, it goes without saying. They've both been in court to hear proceedings so far, and will give evidence themselves tomorrow. Now, at the end of proceedings, this is a fact-finding mission. This is not a commentary on the social media speculation. Dr. Adelaide made it pretty clear at the start of the proceedings that he would not be addressing any of that. He was dealing exclusively in facts from experts and witnesses, and it's also not a commentary on the Lancashire Police investigation. We have heard today from Detective Superintendent Rebecca Smith, who laid out clearly the timeline of events based on the evidence that both her team gathered and we heard in court today. So yes, tomorrow, following the final sort of witnesses, Dr. Adelaide will then sum up. Now, the way inquests work are, in years gone by, they would give what we call a verdict. That is not the case now. Now, often you will hear verdict-type terms used, but he doesn't have to do that necessarily. He can comment on the case, give a narrative of the facts, or he can give some kind of conclusion. But we will see what he comes to. Obviously, he has been delving through a lot of evidence over the last couple of days, and in the 4 months since Nicola's body was sadly found. We'll be back tomorrow to wrap up those final bits and final witnesses, and when hopefully, as I say, that Nicola's family will get some closure and we'll get some answers to what happened. Thank you.